Residents of Revere are slated to benefit from millions of dollars in investment from this grant. This grant-funded project will replace an aging water line, replace sidewalks, and improve signalization to improve traffic flow along the parkway. And we stand here just down the road from an MBTA stop, Beachmont Blue Line Station, which is on the most reliable and highest capacity line on the system. We're 15 minutes away from downtown Boston and 10 minutes away from the airport. And much of the economic growth that we've seen in the Commonwealth has historically skipped over the city of Revere. And we know, and everyone here knows, that is about to change. And the city of Revere has an incredible potential to grow and shine over the next few years. And I look forward to working with all of the partners that are here today on making that a reality. And we have a number of dignitaries who are here this afternoon that we'll hear from, and I look forward to introducing them to you. But before we begin, I just want to recognize a few of the folks who, without their support, we wouldn't be here today. And City Council President Jessica Giannino, City Council Vice President Stephen Morabito, City Councilors Bob Haz, Tony Zambuto, Ira Novoselsky, Arthur Guanasso, Patrick Keefe, and John Powers. Those are the City Councilors who voted to approve this project by special permit, and those are the City Councilors who had support in a vision for this spot. And since I've taken office in January, I've talked a lot about the high standards that we have as an administration for the community. And the residents of our city want to see job growth, they want to see sustainable economic development, and they want tangible community benefits that are well-defined and will make an impact in the quality of life for themselves every day. And we get all of that in this project. And this project would not have been feasible without the support of the MassWorks grant program. And that program would not be nearly as strong without the staunch support of our next speaker. Since taking office last January, Governor Baker has reaffirmed his commitment to sustainable economic growth throughout the entire Commonwealth in all corners of our great Commonwealth, and not just areas that have achieved success. And Revere is an example of the kind of community with untapped potential that can be unlocked with strategic investments. As mayor of the city, I appreciate that Governor Baker and his administration understand and value a community like Revere and understand the potential and the opportunity that lies here. With that, I want to introduce Governor Baker.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and let me also welcome the Speaker of the House, Bob DeLeo, Senator Boncore, the members from the City Council, and interested parties here today. This is a $3.63 million MassWorks grant. The mayor did a pretty good job of describing what it's for. I just want to say a couple things about the program overall, and then speak a little bit about this one. MassWorks, in some respects, is one of the best tools that we have as an administration to invest in local community projects, whether they're housing projects or downtown development projects, or purely development projects like this one. The great thing about MassWorks is it has tremendous flexibility, and that flexibility gives us the opportunity to support a lot of different kinds of initiatives and to serve as what I would describe as sort of the final stitching to projects that if you could just figure out some way to solve a problem A, B, or C, you could actually get the thing over the goal line. And as a result, it's also one of the most competitive programs that we have. And we had about $250 million worth of applications for about $90 million worth of grants, just to give you some idea about how competitive it is. And so one of the first things I want to say today is to congratulate Revere on a very competitive proposal. There are a lot of communities that were very interested in this program, very interested in these grants, and you should all be enormously proud of the work that was done by the city to make this particular proposal one where we felt the bang for the buck, the state bang for the buck relative to what was going to be done here on this site and in this city, made it stand above the rest and become one of the ones that we chose to fund and support here. I also do want to talk a little bit about the administration's overall approach to local communities. No surprise, I think, to most folks that the Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito and I both served on our boards of selectmen in our hometowns of Swampscott and Shrewsbury. We wanted people who knew something about local government serving in our administration, which is why Jay Ash, who was the former city manager of Chelsea, ended up as our Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. It's why Carolyn Kirk, who's the former mayor of Gloucester, ended up as his undersecretary. And it's why people like Nam Pham, who used to run Viet Aid, which is a community development corporation in Boston, and Crystal Cornegay, who used to run Urban Edge, also a community development corporation in Boston, ended up serving in key positions in housing and economic development as well. Juan Vega, who's here, who also works on this program in particular, formerly of the city of Chelsea, and Erica, who actually drives the train on a lot of this and gets to say no. We like to come say yes, she gets to say no. Sorry. Has done a spectacular job in managing this program overall. You know, I drive by this place all the time. Thousands of times I've driven by this place over the course of the 20-some-odd years that I've lived in Swampscott. And I've always wondered, given its proximity to Beachmont, what might happen here. And I'm thrilled to be able to be here today and support this project, because this is in fact exactly the sort of thing that we as a Commonwealth want to do, which is take our funds, transit-oriented development, obviously, heavily traveled corridor, no doubt about it, just down the street from a ton of stuff that's been going on along Revere Beach for the better part of the past several years, which I've been watching pop up like tulips. Big tulips, and this is ultimately going to lead to about a $90 million investment here on this site, and the construction of over 200 housing units and a hotel to boot. In many respects, it's exactly the sort of thing that the Commonwealth should be working with our colleagues in local government on, and that's why I'm so thrilled to be here today. The one other thing I want to mention, because we do have some folks from the legislature, the first executive order that I signed when I became governor was the executive order to create our Community Compact program, which the Lieutenant Governor chairs. And this was our way of creating a different kind of working with and relating to local government than the state had pursued historically. The state's approach historically, in many cases, to cities and towns has been thou shalt. Thou shalt do this, thou shalt do that, and by the way, we're not going to give you any money, have a nice day, figure it out. And we said instead what we wanted to do was put together a menu of best practices, let communities pick whichever ones made the most sense to them to work on, and then provide them with technical assistance to go ahead and pursue those. And we also said that if you choose to do this and make decisions to go work on some of the stuff that you could improve in your own communities, we will give you points for this when you bid on stuff like MassWorks grants. And that's our way of saying to local communities, we'd love to see you folks get involved in this, but you need to make whatever decision makes the most sense for you. But if you do, and you work with us on this, we will factor that into the scoring that we put together when we make decisions around these sorts of awards. And as of today, I think we have about 240 communities out of the 351 in Massachusetts that have signed community compacts, including this one here. And I also want to say that process taught us a lot about what was going on in state-local government relations and led to the development of a modernization bill that we filed earlier in the legislative session. 200 pages of what I call weed whacking, but at Mass Municipal Association called it the single most important update and modernization of state municipal law in the past 50 years. And that would not have happened and found its way through the legislative process and back to my desk so that I could happily sign that if it hadn't been for the work of people like the Speaker and the Senator and others who are here with us today. That relationship we have with the legislature, working on a bipartisan basis, finding common ground wherever we can to improve the state of play for our communities around Massachusetts, is a big part of what makes this job enjoyable and worthwhile. And I do again want to congratulate the mayor and his team for the work that they did here. Very competitive process. They put in a terrific proposal. There's a big leverage opportunity here where public dollars are leveraging private investments to support transit-oriented development on a site that just seems right for this type of thing. And we're very pleased to be part of this. Thank you very much. We're gonna wire the mayor the money. But I did want to give him the letter that actually says, yeah, it's for real, and at some point in the next 5 or 6 years, we promise it will show up. We'll take a picture with that later. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Our next speaker is someone who I have looked up to for a number of years, and the people of Revere and Winthrop have had an unrelenting champion in. Although his team might lose on Thanksgiving Day, Speaker DeLeo has been an advocate for constituents since his days of the school committee, I believe, right? School committee? Selectmen? On the local level, and up to his tenure as Speaker of the House. And we are always grateful for his support, and I welcome Speaker DeLeo to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much for that fearless prediction that you and the council seems to make every single year. And if well, I don't even want to tell you, I think Winthrop has won something like 20 out of 22 years or something like that. And the governor said similar things to me when Winthrop was playing Swampscott this year as well, and we know what happened there. Right, Governor? But I want to thank the mayor for having me here today, and especially to thanking him, especially for his energy and his new ideas that help invigorate Revere's economy. And it's so wonderful, really, to be joined by our partner in the legislature, obviously Governor Baker, the folks from Secretary Ash's office, and I had the opportunity to talk to the Secretary just this week about this great project. My friends and colleagues and partners in the legislature, Senator Boncore, and of course Representative Vincent, and all the members of the City Council who also play such a vital role in today as well. And it's also great to see a former Secretary of Economic Development, Secretary Bielecki, here as well. And it's wonderful to be here for this day, for this special announcement. It's always so wonderful to have a governor or other dignitary visit and bring along, whether it's a check or a letter of money to come later, $3.6 million. That makes the weather so much warmer, even though it may seem so cool right about now. We could do this every day, Governor, if you think it's a good idea. But I'd also like to acknowledge the representatives of the developers who are here today. I am so grateful that this $3.63 million MassWorks grant is coming to the city of Revere. These funds will greatly help in terms of strengthening the city's infrastructure to make sure its crosswalks, its sidewalks, and water pipes are in shape to support the new development at the old, so-called Old Shaw's location. I often like to use the phrase that Revere is a city which is on the move. And with this new funding, the hotel and the mixed-use project will be on its way to brightening up this corner of this great city. It means jobs, and it means economic opportunity for the people of Revere. This project, I think, is a great example of what the House envisioned when we championed the MassWorks program. I believe that one of the things that the state can do to support business is to provide strong infrastructure, and that's exactly what we're doing here today. MassWorks makes that process all the more easier. I have great optimism of what this parcel means to the city, and I'm quite frankly so very, very proud to be here today, to join with all of you here today on this great announcement. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our next speaker, is our newest member of the state delegation, but he has proven himself to be a great friend to the city of Revere and a dedicated public servant. It's my pleasure to welcome Senator Joe Boncore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for being here today. I'm still too new to make any jokes about Thanksgiving Day, as I get to build some bridges in Revere going forward. But this is a great hope for the city of Revere, and a great location. It's often referred to as the old Shaw's site, but I can remember on Wednesdays when my mother would pack me and my 8 other brothers and sisters in the car to come to Seratani's to do our food shopping. And I am so proud that another generation of children will see this site so totally different. And I do want to take the opportunity to thank the governor for his vision in the city of Revere and all of his administration that had anything to do with this with the MassWorks grant programs. And I want to thank the mayor, who has taken a new vision for this city. Revere, with its existing public transportation infrastructure, with its locations that are so ready for some growth. I don't know who set up the podium, but to have the people behind me staring out across the street at what could be next for economic growth in this city really says a lot. So thank you for that strategic planning of the podium. Because Revere is really, as I like to say, ready for a renaissance and a boom of growth and smart economic growth. So I want to thank the mayor and the city council for having the courage to stand up and seek grants within the state to aid in that grant. I want to thank the partners at Redgate for providing what they're going to provide to the city. And it's with these public and private partnerships that we're going to be able to grow not just this city, but the entire Commonwealth. So thank you all for being part of this very special day for the city of Revere. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Boncore. And you know, Senator is trying to build bridges in Revere when he drops a reference to Seratani's. You know, he's a Winthrop kid, and his team is going to lose too. But you know, I want to acknowledge one other person before we move on to our next speaker. Representative Rosalie Vincent has been a champion in the legislature, and she has been incredible support. So thank you, Rep. And finally, I want to welcome Kyle Warwick from Redgate. As I mentioned earlier, it is important and imperative that Revere work with high-quality folks and high-quality developers and folks who have a track record and folks who have the ability to create the kind of economic growth that we're talking about. The folks at Redgate have shown their willingness to work with the community, to listen to what folks have to say, and to make sure that they can put a project forward that really is the smart economic development that we want in the city of Revere. So I am happy to welcome Kyle up to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank the governor. It is a great program, and Jay does such a great job. Jay Ash, he's not here with us today, but I want to thank Jay as well. I want to thank Ira. Ira, I want to thank you, Ward 2 Councilor, for his support and really his strength. We love the leadership, and I just wanted to correct the mayor. It took me 12 minutes from State Street to right here, and it's amazing. The blue line is just terrific, and you know, to the governor's point, you know, how can this not be developed? And we invest in connectivity, and this site right now today is an island. And I'll tell you, without the MassWorks grant, the $3.6 million, this doesn't happen. Today doesn't happen, because with that $3.6 million, this site will be now connected to Beachmont, connected to all the amenities that Revere has to offer, the beach, Stop and Shop. So we're making these huge connections, and without the $3.6 million, you know, there's city infrastructure that's being placed in here, not just for us, but for the city of Revere and for Beachmont community. So, you know, we can't be more happy to kick this off. This will absolutely leverage $90 million, 132 key hotel, a great flag, and a great residential project of 195 units. So without it, all of you, without that grant, this is not happening. So I thank you all for coming, and we look forward to tearing down the old Shaws and Saratanis. By the way, we're with Joe Sr. We're with Joe Sr. today, and he's very proud because he does feel that his property is in the right hands, and he feels very proud about this property. So we're going to have him back. There's no question we're going to have him back, because he is going to be proud, as everybody will be proud of what happens next. So thank you.
I want to thank everyone again for being here. Thank the governor for his support. Thank our friends in the legislature for their support, and our friends on city council. Thank you all.